One mistake that you can think about that you made in business that you can use as a lesson to teach any of the other young people watching this?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as entrepreneurs is,
what is it like as a young person to start a business when you don't have a safety net?
I think as a young person getting into entrepreneurship, it's very scary.
Yeah.
But I think looking at the way things are, it's like,
what advice would you give to young people who have brilliant ideas but are struggling with the idea of consistently showing up when they're not seeing the results they want now?
What advice I'd like to give to young people is, don't compare yourself to someone else's highlight reel.
What do you do when you're just like, I need to take a break and just take a step back from everything that's happening?
Funny enough, before we walked in here, I was just talking about how there's no such thing as like balance. Life is very seasonal.
Yeah.
And there's a season where
Hello. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Youth Excellence Podcast. And it's happening in Youth Month, which means our guests are all young people doing excellent things and doing them amazingly. I'm your host, Elma Akob, and I'm so excited about today's episode as we get to know another excellent young person in South Africa making a difference, making impact, and doing it good. Our guest today is none other than Marcia Monareng, a winner of the Top Media Brand 2024, was it? At the Top Youth-Owned Brand Awards. And she's the founder of Millennial Mindset Media. Did I add mindset there?
No, it's the
Millennial Mindset Media. And we're going to find out all about Marcia. We're going to find out all about her business. And we're excited to get into this conversation. Marcia, welcome to the Youth Excellence Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you here. I'm super, super excited. I want to know, Marcia, and you get this question a lot, I'm sure. But there's probably aspects of your story that you might not have told anyone yet. Mm-hmm. So where did it all begin?
Yeah. So I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. My mom runs a kota shop. My dad is a mechanic. So I pretty much entrepreneurship was modeled to me growing up, but I never thought I would be in entrepreneurship so soon. So I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur, but I was like postponing it. Because you know what? I'm going to get into entrepreneurship when I'm 45, somewhere there. But what happened was I studied, got into the job market, started working in a digital marketing agency. And fast forward, COVID happened. And we all know a lot of us actually struggled during that time. So I got retrenched. I was one of those people who got retrenched.
Sure.
But instead of fixing my CV, I was like, no, let's try. Let's try this entrepreneurship thing. Maybe it's time. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was.
Yeah. I believe it was as well. I mean, look where you are right now. It's so great to hear success stories come out of COVID, because when we think of COVID, it's normally just dark despair and sadness. But to hear that in the midst of all of that, people walked away finding something new about themselves. Now, something that you mentioned was the fact that you thought you were going to do entrepreneurship later in life, which is a mindset that a lot of people have, where they think, once I finish doing my 9 to 5,
yes,
and once I finally attain success, then I'll consider working on my passion or working on trying entrepreneurship, because I'll have the safety net of built up savings. What is it like as a young person to start a business when you don't have a safety net?
That's a good question. I think from my experience, it's trial and error. When I started entrepreneurship, I only had my last pay, which was, I think I was left with like 5,000 Rand, literally. And because we live in a digital age and we have access to information, and I had work experience, for me, it was like, what's there to lose at this point? So I started from there. And I think as a young person getting into entrepreneurship, it's very scary.
Yeah.
But I think looking at the way things are, it's like, just go at it. Go at it, and the opportunities are there. The information is there. So I think it's something that young people should look into. they should look into it.
Thank you for being so open and honest with us with that, because I think a lot of young people look at entrepreneurs, especially award-winning entrepreneurs, and think you're coming from a background with millions. Like, the reason she started that business was because she knew Mang Mang, or she already had this money from there. And you're telling people it was 5K. And now you haven't only been able to help yourself, you've helped other unemployed youth. And so I want to talk to that. Tell me a little bit about what Millennial Mindset is doing to help some unemployed young people.
Yeah. So when I started Millennial Mindset Media, it was, for me, it was like a response. Because, when you graduate from university, you're always told, especially if you come from a university like Wits, that jobs are going to be coming to you, So for me, I had a rude awakening because I did everything right. I went to school, got good grades, but still struggled to get a job because we live in a country that produces a lot of graduates, but there's not enough jobs for these graduates. So for me, I had the purpose or the mission to actually employ people and give them an opportunity, whether they have a degree or not. And for me, going through the job markets and seeing how they want you to have a car, they want you to have so many
experience.
5 years
You've
experience.
just graduated.
I just arrived, and I felt like there was so many barriers for young people. So as a millennial, I said, I'm going to start my own company called Millennial Mindset Media. And the goal is to empower young people and give them a platform, because I think there's so many talented young people that just want to be given an opportunity and training, a little bit of an opportunity and training. So for me, that was the mission from the get-go. It was to empower young people like myself from the township, because there's so many barriers to entry. So when last year, I think it was 2023 actually, I moved back into the township where I grew up, a small community called Leachville, because after working as a solopreneur, I felt like I wasn't being true to my purpose. So I went back to my community, found an abandoned container and renovated it with the purpose of gathering young people from my neighborhood, teaching them what I know. And with the help of AI, we would be able to service different brands from this container. And we achieved that. I was able to train 6 individuals and I was equipping them with digital skills, being able to create content, photography, videography. And we were doing incredible things from that container. And I didn't have to have a lot of money. I didn't have to have an office space in Sandton. I just had the idea. And I was like, I'm just going to share the little that I have. And I believe it was impactful, because even though we don't have all the 6 people, they walk away with that talent. They walk away with that job experience, and they walk away with having worked with an award-winning agency.
Period. Award-winning agency. That's right. When you're speaking, I'm just thinking about the fact that right now, today in social media, young people are drawn by aesthetic. They're drawn by the aesthetic of a Sandton office, the aesthetic of being picked up in this fancy car. And, everyone does that driving to work, coffee in hand, vlog, day in my life, kwang kwang. And so people are more focused on the aesthetic than they are on the hard work that comes before the aesthetic. And so we're looking at the outcome of, this is what I want my life to look like, without realizing that this is what I need to go through before I even get there. And should that even be the goal? And what I love about Millennial Mindset Media is your focus was, how can I give back to my community? Not the aesthetic. How can I give back to my community? When this becomes successful, then everything else will follow like it needs to. But first, how do I give back to my community? And so my next question is, I want to talk about that name, Millennial Mindset Media. How you came up with that name. I love it because I'm a millennial now. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Hey.
Maybe.
I refuse. But Millennial Mindset Media, where did the name come from? And then that color, that orange color. If you know anything about Marcia, find her on social media, find Millennial Mindset on social media, you will always see orange. Where is the bright color coming from? Where is the name of the company coming from? What's the vision behind it?
Okay, so the name Millennial Mindset Media started back in 2017. So my friend and I had graduated and we had experience working with agencies. And again, we were like, we wanted to do something. Like I said, we wanted to empower other young people. So we decided we're going to start our own thing. Both of us are millennials. And we're like, it's for millennials. Yes, we want to service brands, but the main thing is to empower young people. And at the time, that was millennials. So that's how Millennial Mindset Media came about. And the color, we started off pink. We started off pink in 2017. And then when we relaunched, or when I relaunched, because my friend actually pulled out of the company. But when I relaunched after getting retrenched in 2020, that's when I re-envisioned the brand, how the look and feel. And orange was one of those colors that really stood out because it's a color that is creative. It illuminates confidence. It represents vibrancy, fresh ideas. And you just never forget it. It's one of those colors where, like, when you see it, you're going to turn. You're going to be like, okay.
Who's that?
It's very bold. Yeah. And I made it our thing by consistently wearing it and showing up with orange. And now, funny enough, some people they now associate orange.
I always feel like if I see Marcia without orange, it's a grey day. Something's going on. Something, some way is not right. In your answer, you quickly mentioned 2017 being the starting time. And one thing young people struggle with is wanting instant success. Wanting that, look, I'm a musician. My songs are good. Why am I not viral?
Yeah.
I'm a business person. I know what I'm doing. Why am I not selling out? 2017, it's 2025 now, which means you're not an overnight success.
No.
And so what advice would you give to young people who have brilliant ideas, but are struggling with the idea of consistently showing up when they're not seeing the results they want now?
Again, I think I'm going to go back to what you said in terms of people always see the highlight reel.
Yeah.
They always see the end product. And then they start comparing their lived experience with someone else's highlight reel. I think we're living in a digital age where people are posting on social media, and everything that we post on social media is curated and it looks amazing. And it looks like, yo, Marcia, you're really killing it. But behind the scenes, I'm like running on 2 hours of sleep.
Yay.
Like there's so much that successful people don't share. And the parts that they don't share, you find that it's very difficult. It's the late nights, it's the rejection, it's the struggle between being celebrated and feeling like you're still building and feeling like an imposter. And what advice I'd like to give to young people is don't compare yourself to someone else's highlight reel. Like, understand that your journey is your journey and be true to it. Things are not always going to be easy, but stay the course. Stay the course, because if success was easy, everybody would be successful. Everybody would be successful, but only a few people are successful because only a few people choose consistently to do the hard thing. And being a business owner is not pap and flesh, hey? Like,
Marcia, tell them.
I just want to say, it's not pap and flesh. Like, even now, we're sitting here, it's so nice. And, we're talking about me being award-winning, but I'm seeing flames.
Yeah. Yeah.
We laugh, but I'm really seeing flames. I'm in a very, weird season in my business. And the other day, I was meeting up with other entrepreneurs who've been in the game longer than I've lived. And they were just talking about how, welcome, this is normal. It's normal. You're going to go through seasons, you're going to go through pivots. And as a young person, I think when you go into entrepreneurship or when you pursue your passion, understand that it's not going to be easy. And be true to your own journey because it's personal. Don't compare yourself to Marcia or don't compare yourself to someone else. Stick to your plan. Stick to what God has destined for you because everybody has their thing. Do you?
Yeah, so many golden nuggets there, Marcia. Comparison is the thief of joy. the fact that entrepreneurship is not linear and it's not going to be one path where it's going to be straight. It's got its ups and downs throughout the entire journey. As you're talking, I'm thinking about myself in a conversation I was having with a friend of mine just yesterday, being in the same position of when you're in front of a camera a lot and when you're on social media and I'm hosting events a lot, that's all people see.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, Elma's out again. She's in another country. She's in another city. And I was sitting there going, I haven't reached what I would even call success to myself as of yet. And she had to sit me down and she said, Elma, the problem with comparison is you start to diminish the grace in your life because you desire the grace in someone else's.
Hey.
And I said, I'm sad. Okay, cool. And I completely understand that. I think there's a lot of young people who can, also relate to what we're talking about and it's also, you've got this pressure of everyone thinks I'm successful. Now I have to be successful. I can't fail. I've got a lot of people watching me.
Yes.
You're not just an award winner. You're a multi-award winning entrepreneur. And so all of these people who have given me awards have told me I'm great at what I do. I have to be great at what I do.
Yeah.
And so my question to you is, how do you handle all of these external pressures that are coming to you? What do you do when you're just like, I need to take a break and just take a step back from everything that's happening?
Funny enough, before we walked in here, I was just talking about how there's no such thing as like balance. Life is very seasonal.
Yeah.
And there's a season where grind, no rest, like go in. And there's a season where you need to prioritize rest.
Yeah.
So how I deal with pressure is understanding that there's a season. First of all, understanding that, right now I'm going through a lot, but this will pass. And after I've succeeded, maybe it's a campaign or something, then I will schedule time to be like, okay, rest.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. The other thing is just prayer. I think, when you can't do this entrepreneurship thing without God, I feel, because you need a higher power to be like, this thing is above me, God. It's above me.
Yeah.
Someone to really like go to that isn't, because, even entrepreneurs and people who've walked the journey, their entrepreneurship is different from yours. And what they go through is different from what you're going to go through.
That's right.
So sometimes even their advice doesn't even cut it. And you need a higher power, to be like,
yeah,
nothing is making sense.
Exactly.
And you're depending on this higher power to like guide you, God. And again, also, I'm a dog mom. I have 2 dogs.
Oh, and your dogs are adorable.
Nunu.
Are you starting their social media channel or not? Okay,
they're on Instagram.
Yeah.
Share their
They're super cute, guys.
But yeah, so like really just take it. Recently, it's been stepping outside, being in the grass and just drinking my coffee, just watching my dogs. Because I think there's something very grounding about being in nature and watching animals.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at my dogs and I'm like, you guys have no stress. Like,
don't worry on earth. We know we're going to eat. We know we're going to sleep. And that's life.
So like literally just having that slow morning of just watching my dogs and being outside. It's the calm before I get into work and the pressures going. I think young people need to find that thing.
Yeah.
Find that thing that grounds you. Also believe in something.
Tell them. I love that. I love also the fact that you said reclaiming mornings, because this mentality of the 5 a.m. club, personally, I'm not a fan of it. I feel like it's rooted in capitalism. This idea that I must wake up. First bird gets the worm. I need to start working the moment I'm up and I see the sky and I've got coffee but there's something grounding about reclaiming your morning because the rest of your day is going to be crazy. And so if you want to change that alarm to 6 or even 7,
it's all right.
It's all right if your boss says so. My next question goes to the fact that as a young person, I'm sure you find yourself in situations where you're interacting with either sponsors or funders or big businesses or other entrepreneurs, et cetera, et cetera. And young people are often overlooked in the business space. So how do we stand out? How do we get this profile of being young and not qualified and lazy and every other stereotype that comes with being young? How do you overlook that, or how do you go past that so that people can see you for the business mogul that you are?
I think first things first, be good at what you do.
That's good.
Be good at what you do. That's because, and as much as people can tell you, you're young, the proof is in the pudding. Like, if you're good at what you do, people can't debate it. They can see it. So whether you are a musician, whether you're running a business, pursue excellence. Be excellent in the work that you do. That's the first thing. The second thing is be consistent in how you show up. Because I feel like a lot of the time, some people are very incredible, but they're not being taken seriously, or they don't succeed because they're not consistent. You just need to be consistent. You need to continuously show up. And when you show up, be intentional about how you show up. Don't just enjoy, attendance. No, don't think attendance is enough. You need to make sure that you excel in everything that you do and be consistent at it. And I think that's what young people need to do.
Yeah.
Yes
to every single one of those things. Business people, we make mistakes. We make mistakes every single day. And often we can't share those mistakes because, like you said, we've got to put our best foot forward. What's one mistake that you can think about that you made in business that you can use as a lesson to teach any of the other young people watching this?
Yeah, I have so many. I've made so.
Where do I start, Elma?
I feel like that needs a whole podcast of mistakes.
The youth mistake podcast.
It needs its own thing.
Yeah.
But let me think of one big mistake. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as entrepreneurs is assumptions. We make assumptions. We make assumptions about our customer. We make assumptions about things. Yeah. We just make assumptions, and we end up not doing the work in terms of doing research, having a good understanding of what you do, how it's received. So I think for me, I've made a lot of assumptions when it comes to even my understanding of youth, my understanding of the township markets, my understand. We have preconceived notions, and then we come with those preconceived notions into business. But business is really about numbers, and right. If you make assumptions, sometimes it can cost you a lot. It can cost you a lot. So I think now I'm really looking into, with every decision that I make, I try to see if it's not an assumption, and to make sure, do research, get understanding, engage people. And especially when you're in the media space, you don't want to be assuming things. You want to make sure that whatever it is that you create, whatever it is that how you show up, is based on facts. So yeah, I think I've made a lot of assumptions that have cost me a lot of money.
So good. And such a critical lesson for people, especially in this age of AI and ChatGPT. Because you'll ask ChatGPT, what should I do to solve this problem? ChatGPT doesn't know that your problem is in a township. ChatGPT doesn't know that your problem has a personality. Your problem is slightly older than you and needs to be treated differently. ChatGPT doesn't know those things. And so this assumption, I hope you're listening and taking down some notes. For youth-led initiatives that are looking to partner with big companies and big organizations, how do they brand themselves as credible?
I think it goes back to how businesses should show up. I think for me, I've been very intentional in how I brand Millennial Mindset Media. I remember one time I was having a whole argument with my mom because we were looking for an outfit to go to an event. And we went through the whole mall because I couldn't find something orange. And she's like, surely you are mad.
Mara, my girl.
Because I think you need to become obsessed with what you're doing. So I think for me, what I would say to young people, you need to be intentional about how you build your brand. So with branding, be consistent, be intentional. And then people will recognize you and they'll see you as the leader that you are.
Yeah.
Number 2, show up excellent again. Walk the talk. I think a lot of the time, especially as a young Black businesswoman, sometimes I find that I shrink myself. I want to be humble. I don't want attention.
Anyone.
You know what I mean? But I think we need to step up.
That's right.
Because people treat you how you treat yourself, and how you show up is how people will treat you. So I think it's so important to step up, respect yourself, show up with confidence, be bold. Yeah. And people will treat you and they'll respect you. They'll take your brand as seriously as you take it. So that's the other thing. And lastly, I think you need to invest in your business. I think sometimes we think, once you make a profit, you want to chop life. It's easy. It's easy. And I fell into that trap in the beginning, but I think it's one of the lessons that I've learned, that you need to reinvest into your business.
That's right.
So that you can grow, and brands and sponsors will take you seriously as well. And yeah, I think be very intentional in how you position yourself. For example, I was very intentional in terms of getting PR, in terms of getting people to vote for me for awards, making sure that now we have that award winning. It does something.
It does something. And I mean, speaking of award winning, you're, a winner of a YOBA.
Period.
Youth Owned Brand Award, and which means you're a young person of excellence. And so I've got 2 more questions for you. This is it's not a hard one, but it needs you to introspect a bit. Okay. Currently, as we're sitting having this conversation, it's June 2025, Youth Month. What do you want to see different June 2026, Youth Month?
For who?
For young people in South Africa.
Yeah, quite a bit. I want to see more young people in leadership positions. It would be nice, especially in our politics. I want to see more young entrepreneurs, more young people stepping into the entrepreneurial space. And I want to see less unemployment. Like, there's so many young people who are unemployed. It's actually ridiculous.
Yeah.
I want to see more young people break that cycle of youth unemployment, more job opportunities. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah.
More work for young people.
More work for young people. 2026, when we watch this episode again, I want us to be able to look back and say, it actually happened. I think that would be great. That would be such an opportunity. And so, final question. What's coming up for Millennial Mindset Media? What are we looking forward to? What do you want us to focus on? Yeah, where are we going after this?
Oh, I've been waiting for this question.
Tell us.
So far, Millennial Mindset Media has been a creative agency where we create content for brands. So now we are pivoting.
We're getting a scoop.
Yeah, so we're pivoting into becoming a platform for consumer education.
Ooh.
Yes. So we will be driving campaigns with regards to financial literacy, with regards to healthcare. So be on the lookout. We have a lot of exciting content coming up because we are the ones that are now going to be pioneering the consumer education space and creating animation more intently and driving that content for the everyday South African.
Yo, Marcia, you know that saying that says we are the ones we have been waiting for. You are the one we have been waiting for.
Amen.
So thank you so much for that. I'm super excited to say I love that you can pivot. And I think for young business owners, know that you can pivot. Where you start isn't where you have to end. You are not a monolith. You can do different things. You can change how you do business. But thank you so much for joining us on the Youth Excellence Podcast. Thank you to everyone who tuned in for today's episode. And we will see you next time when we chat to another excellent young person. Bye.
Cheers.